Thanks for joining us. We start on a solemn note as this man led the entire family to invest 200,000 Ghana cedis in investment firm Gold Coast Fund Management Limited, which is now a troubled company. Michael Lamte was the first to invest 40,000 cedis in the firm, and as a finance person, he was able to convince 4 other family members to deposit their savings: his wife, his mother-in-law, and his brother-in-law. But for months, Gold Coast Fund Management has been struggling to pay its customers. Michael shares how the situation is affecting his entire family in the following report by Fifi Kumsin. What's the situation in the house now?
Your guess is good as mine.
Michael Lamte sobs as he narrates a struggle to redeem his investment with Gold Coast Fund Management Limited.
The old woman cannot tell you that what you've done, I don't like it. But you should know. As we speak, the old woman is in the house taking care of my 1.5-year-old son. I'm a father of 3. My mother is alive, my father is alive. They all depend on me. In less than 20 years, the government will ask me to go on retirement. Because I'm about 40 as I'm talking to you. What do I have? At least if I'm able to get this, I can start something.
But he's a man in a lot of trouble. As a finance person, he's the go-to man in his family when anyone wants to invest. So after he had invested his 40,000 Ghana cedis at Gold Coast Fund Management, he convinced 4 other family members to invest. His wife.
My wife, who was by then not even, when I asked for my wife to, she was just like me before. She's not that, with investments. I managed to, encourage my wife, coerce her to do investments with Gold Coast. So the money that she has in her account, but I even took her to the bank. Yes.
Mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law, a pensioner. I didn't even talk to my wife, but I went straight to my mother-in-law. You are a pensioner. The letter that you have in your account, if you save it to. So I encouraged this old lady. I took the old lady to the bank. She took her money to Gold Coast. I didn't end there.
And brother-in-law.
My in-law, my wife's brother, a senior man.
Together, the family has invested 200,000 Ghana cedis, Lamte says. But for almost a year now, the family has been trying hard without success to get their money.
200,000 Ghana cedis is now with Gold Coast. And since we started, all of us started the investment, we've not even gone for a penny. My principal, let alone the interest, everything is there. You can imagine the situation in my house now, my brother. Security and Exchange Commission. In fact, Reverend Obame, we had a meeting with him, and I told Obame that, you know what, I think it's a crime to invest in fact, a Ghanaian to invest is a crime. I told Obame that. He was like, Mike, I said, yes. Because this is my hard-earned money, my toil, and this is what I'm going through. Why? But you said you have this motto as ensuring investors' security, kind of thing. You are to guarantee my security, me the investor, and that's what I'm going through. I've been to SEC. In fact, we've been to SEC. Initially, we were doing I was doing individual thing. Then we get it's not working. We form groups. We've been to SEC several times, letters, meetings. We've met all from the north to south of SEC. Nothing is happening. In fact, I have been to Gold Coast, all their offices, the asylum down, everywhere. The one at airport. To no avail, my brother. Now I don't know where to go to. I don't know who to turn to.
What did they tell you?
Good. You go to the office, you won't even see anybody there. I took my mother-in-law, but I drove her to the office. Because it got to a point. I took her there. We went there. They said, oh, okay, 3 to 5 years, something, they take the form and fill. The most annoying thing, not even an officer talking to you, a security man will come and that is then after, that ends it.
Lamte is just a little over 40 years. And already he's been diagnosed with hypertension. He blames his new condition on the intense pressure on him, the man who led his entire family into a botched investment.
As we speak, my brother, let me show you something. And we have the records here. Please read this thing for me.
Okay, so this one says the brief clinical history. Well, it's the name of patient Michael Lamptey, X-ray request form, fascicular block, newly diagnosed hypertension.
See, that is what I've been diagnosed of. I went to the hospital, the doctor tested, in fact, not even a doctor, the nurse, the one was like, gentlemen, do you have hypertension in your family or BP? I said, no. I said, by then they had already done about 4 times. And the records that, you know, the woman sees on the screen was 190, 180. Already by then I've already run series of tests. I had to go and do ECG, and the doctor says, so, as you can see, this shows that there's a problem with my heart.
Lamptey is not the only one worried about the situation. Meet this man.
My heart. At the stage, one night, things were bad, so I was rushed to the hospital. Yeah, I stayed there for 4 days. And I was given some medications. I said the best would be that the outer, that big artery, there's some problem there, and it will need some operation.
The surgery.
The surgery.
He's 82 years old with a heart condition and needs urgent surgery. He has no money for it now, but he has over 150,000 Ghana cedis locked up at Gold Coast.
I needed some money.
How much?
Oh, 35,000.
35,000?
Yes, cedis. So I went and told them that this was it.
Gold Coast.
Gold Coast.
Okay.
We will come, we are getting some money when we get. So I went to the hospital again, and I was giving some sustaining drugs to buy for some time. So it gave me some leeway, and this kept on, and I kept on going. But the money, yes.
How much do you have there?
Oh, what I invested, I thought it would be 150 something, but with the interest there, at the stage, presently it's about 200,000 cedis.
The octogenarian says he's scared.
Oh, heart, anything about heart will be fatal. Anything about heart.
Delicate.
It's serious. It might be minor to them, but to me, the layman, I feel scared, and I feel I must do it. You live as if you can go tomorrow, but you have to try to suppress that air of depression that's trying to develop in you. You try to forget it.
JoyNews has reached out to Gold Coast Fund Management Limited on the case of Lamptey and his family and other people affected by the troubles of Gold Coast Fund Management. Gold Coast says it will work with the affected persons and have the issues resolved. But for now, Lamptey and the old man remain under pressure and afraid of the unknown. Fifi Kumsin, JoyNews.
Now, Gold Coast Fund Management says it is working out a plan with Michael after JoyNews brought his story to the company's attention. Kofi Asamoah-Siao, who is in charge of investor relations at the company, spoke to JoyNews.
The point is that we have listened to the production. Everything the gentleman is saying is valid. He represents numerous, in fact, thousands of customers with different similar conditions such as this one that the company is taking steps to address. But it's an overwhelming situation because it is kind of something that is happening in crisis times. Now, these revelations that are going on is good to the extent that It will allow us to proffer solutions, get the people who matter to be able to take concrete decisions, to be able to address them. And regulators are involved, ministries are involved, the presidency are involved, and so on and so forth. So it's good that it's coming up. We want to also acknowledge the resilience of our customers, the patience, the calmness, the civility, and so on. There have been a few instances where anger and emotions have played out, but if you look at the number of customers that we deal with and the monies that we are talking about, it's an insignificant number in terms of the infractions that we may be worried about. But there are genuine pain people are going through, and it's our fault and it's our responsibility, and we take it squarely.
Kofi Asamoah out there speaking on the Super Morning Show. Now, Parliament has resumed sitting today after 90 days of break. Amongst some of the things to be looked at during this session is the referendum on the election of MMDCE. Speaking now is Deputy Majority Leader.
Honourable members, we have correspondence from His Excellency the President. 21st October, Mr. Speaker, absence from Ghana. In accordance with Article 59 of the Constitution, I write to inform you that I will be traveling outside the country in the morning of Tuesday, 22nd October 2019 to Russia at the invitation of His Excellency President Putin. Regard to Russia-Africa Economic Forum and Summit, scheduled also, 21st October 2019, Mr. Speaker, following my visit to Barbados in June 2019, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Right Honourable Mia Amor QC, MP, is scheduled to pay a reciprocal official visit to Ghana from 14 to 16 November 2019. As part of my visit to Barbados, I was offered the rare privilege of addressing the Parliament of Barbados as a gesture of goodwill and reciprocity, and in line with our quest to promote further economic and social ties with our kith and kin in the Caribbean. I write respectfully to request that you convene a special sitting of Parliament on 15 November 2019 to be addressed by the Prime Minister of Barbados during her visit to Ghana. I am confident that her visit will provide an opportunity to enhance Ghana's relations with Barbados and the other Caribbean states. Accept, Mr. Speaker, the assurances of my hard yes consideration. Signs, the President. I trust that the women lobby will ensure that we have a very successful visit in this regard, among other things, together with all of us in this honorable house. The lady is a very distinguished member of Parliament in her own right, apart from being the leader now, and we want to give her all relevant courtesies. Honorable members, during our recent, there were other visits and relevant communication on them were sent to this Honorable House. 7th August 2019, the President's visit to Angola. 23rd August 2019, President's visit to Japan. 13th September 2019, the President's visit to Burkina Faso to lead a delegation. And also, 18th September 2019, the President's travel to the United Nations. These will be placed on the appropriate publication.
Speaker of Parliament, Reverend Professor Aaron Michael Quay there. Now, an architect and a resident of Ebri is advocating an immediate halt of private development and construction activities on the Ebri Ridge. Hans Bersen says the continuous landslides experienced on that stretch is as a result of gravity from these structures, among other factors. Last weekend, scores of motorists heading towards Ebri were stranded on the southbound lane after a heavy downpour caused a landslide. According to Mr. Bersen, failure to stop the activities of developers will put more lives at risk.
The assembly must take steps, or the highways must take steps to put adequate drains along the road and check on development here. I mean, usually when you have situations like this, you probably would turn the whole place into a green belt so that you stop developers from coming too close to the edge. Because as they develop, they disturb everything. They disturb the terrain, rocks start getting loose, and they pin their buildings down. So you are actually destabilizing the place. Then when the rain set in, they start washing these things gradually. Now, every building you see up here has wastewater coming down. Where is it going to go? It's going to come downhill. And that's what you see on the roadside, and it washes the soil along and comes out as mud. Now, the assembly must go in there. Everybody seems to have done a retaining wall of some kind. When you collect the water and hits a retaining wall, where does it go? You actually must direct it, and then it comes down the road, and then it causes trouble. Now, if it's left unattended, what's going to happen is that there's a deep cut somewhere here, and another one here. This one has already filled. When the Chinese were doing the road, they actually filled up all this portion just to stabilize the road. They filled up all this portion. Now, if you don't take a close look and resolve them now, it might be worse than we see. NADMO should not.
Authority Diana Seade told JoyNews the Town and Country Planning Department is responsible for the regulation of development of structures in and around the area. She assures the authority is collaborating with the department to enforce compliance.
Two main things that were detected at the time were the indiscriminate construction of housing on the edge, too close to the edge of the slope. And the second was to take measures to save the ancestral slope. The two things, to take measures to save the situation. Okay. Now, we realize that people are still building. That does not lie with the Ghana Highway Authority, the city planning. I think we should have environmental also involved with that. We are now trying to. We've seen the repercussions of this thing. the district assemblies must come together and make sure that the towns are zoned properly. Investigations are done for the areas, especially the hilly areas, so that we don't have the reoccurrence of this thing. It's in continuum. It's happening every day. People are building in waterways on slope edge. We shouldn't be. But who gives the permit? We don't give the permit for the builder and where they should be. When it's in our road, we will have to demolish it. And most of the time, it's our cost government where we have to take compensation for somebody who did the wrong thing. So for some reason, I think all the sectors have to come together. The Ministry of which minister, he has someone else. Even when he came, the construction of this work, he made sure that when it wasn't being done well, the right thing was done to stop it so that we can re-award it. Right now, he's in briefing. We are not finding it easy as the authority because we should have known better. But the point is, we don't give permits because this very instant, you can see the building, the hotel near the place, have contributed to it when water has lodged by its wall, when the wall broke. Then we are having this landslide. So first of all, the indiscriminate building, construction and disturbing of the earth surface of all the hilly areas must be looked into properly. The town must be rezoned. Prescriptions have to be given for areas, what kind of building should go where. And there should be a thorough investigation into this so that we don't find ourselves at the receiving end of this.
Away from that, NPP National Chairman Freddie Blay has been acquitted and discharged of the contempt charge leveled against him by the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Justice George Kumsin in his ruling held that officials of Shraj acted incompetently in an attempt to serve the politician with a petition. Shraj had expressed frustration. The party leader has been evading receipt of documents seeking his response to allegations he procured 275 buses for his party through corruption. But the High Court in its ruling disagrees with the anti-graft body. There's more in the following report.
The Coalition for Social Justice filed a petition with Shraj in July 2018 asking that it investigates Mr. Blay for the procurement of the vehicles. But there appears to be a year of cat and mouse game between Shraj and the party leader. Shraj says Freddie Blay even refused to honor subpoenas. The politician has rejected all the accusations and launched his own, accusing Shraj of playing politics. In his affidavit in court, the NPP national chairman maintained he has at no point disrespected, maligned or disobeyed any directive from Shraj. Justice Kumsin in his ruling said no evidence had been adduced by Shraj to show that Mr. Blay received any notice or that anyone received such a petition on his behalf. He said unless officers of Shraj were being mischievous, no rational person will act in such a manner. He wondered why attempts were not made to serve the NPP chairman at his office at the Ghana National Petroleum Commission. He further stated that despite letters being sent to the offices of Daily Guide and the NPP, no one signed or received it on behalf of the politician. Justice Kumsin awarded a cost of 5,000 cedis against Shraj. Mr. Blay told pressmen he is relieved by the court's decision.
If I was convicted, maybe I would have lost my freedom. Would have gone to, would have committed me to prison. That's unfortunate. Thank God that it didn't happen. And the judge ruled that I was not guilty of contempt. But the most important issue is that, as you could, if you were in the courtroom, you would have realized the judge went ahead to read the application in detail and being charged of corruption, of abuse of public office, and so forth and so on. That's the substance of the application. But even the idea of the Shraj investigating me is that, according to them, I've been accused of having involved myself in regards to purchase of a role I played in the purchase of buses for my party, NPP. All along, my position has been I have not been involved in any corruption. I've not done anything untoward. The question of being part of efforts for a bank to give a loan for us to purchase buses to help our party run. This, to me, does not constitute corruption.
He has also been assuring that members of the party will receive the buses soon.
I have not been personally involved in a purchase of a bus. Those who I have been with have made attempt and succeeded in getting the bank to help advance a loan for the purchase of the buses. It's not Freddie Blay who have bought buses. I played a role, yes, a key role in it, but not Freddie Blay as a person. The buses are meant for the benefit of my party, and that's the case.
But do you know when the party members will receive it?
Very soon.
It's okay.
It's not clear at this stage the next step Shraj intends to take towards the resolution of this matter.
Now, the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, ASEPA, has asked governments to set up a board of trustees to manage the funds of ECG until a proper cleanup of the PDS mess. In a statement issued and signed by the Executive Director, Mensa Thompson, ASEPA is calling for an immediate establishment of a trustee with representatives from the various power sector players and also a monitoring and supervision entity like PIAC to ensure transparency and accountability in the collection and distribution of revenues from ECG to the appropriate power sector players. He spoke earlier on News Desk.
The first thing that government needs to do is to take steps to secure the revenue inflows coming to ECG. It's very important. It's very, very important. And how do we do that? Because they are individual energy sector players who are all contributing in the production and distribution of power, it is important that we set up a trustee with representatives from each of these individual players so that at the end of the month, when the revenues are collected, these representatives from the Board of Trustees meet and see that the money is distributed to the appropriate entities so that there's no debt created in the sector. Since PDS took over, even though PDS is at the bottom of the value chain, if you look at the production of power, the fuel that is being used to run the power plants is taken from GMPC or is supplied by GMPC. Without that fuel, the power plants cannot run and we cannot produce electricity. So in terms of the value chain, GMPC is on top. Then the IPPs will come in. The independent power producers will produce power and feed it into the national grid so that government, or GridCo can give it to ECG for distribution. Also comes next. Then GridCo, then PDS is at the bottom. But because PDS was the one collecting the money, and because our tariffs are also not enough, because last year government reduced the tariffs, and that lowered the revenue that was coming in. And so instead of PDS ensuring that everybody on the table get their share, PDS takes the money and pay themselves, and everyone else can go to hell. And PDS, and that has created a lot of debt with the IPPs, with GMPC and the other players. And so to ensure that that does not happen, so that the government do not come back to us again next year asking us for extra revenue through ESLA to pay those debts that have been created in the energy sector, we have to ensure that all the power sector players get their fair share of the revenue that ECG will be collecting. And so you set up a trustee with their various representatives on that trustee.
Now, the neonatal and intensive care unit of the Tema General Hospital has been refurbished, and authorities at the facility have assured patrons of improved quality and service. They are hopeful the new addition to the facility will help the reduction of pairing babies, a situation which can easily cause the spread of infections. Here's a report by Philip Ankra, read to you.
Ghana's public health system has been in a state of near crisis, with some reports suggesting that there are only about 3,400 hospital beds in Accra, serving about 5 million people in the Greater Accra region. The Tema General Hospital, which was built 65 years ago, is one of them. With very little renovation over the years, the neonatal ward has become increasingly small for the number of births recorded here daily. Here's the Ghana Health Service Director for the Tema Metropolis.
With our position where we are located, we need a hospital with
the environment is now conducive. Workers are happy. As we say, motivation is not always money, but even the working environment. You can see that more beds have been put in there. We also have incubators which have been donated. And as I said earlier, we see almost 50 patients a month at the neonatal intensive care unit, sometimes more. And previously, this challenge of sometimes having to pay babies is something we are gradually moving away from.
Bernard Apia is Chief Executive Director of the Lighthouse Logistics Limited.
What happens is that at the end of every year, we look at our balance and then we strike a tithe of it.